Hello, I'm here with part 6 of a 10-part series, a look at the top 100 comics of the 20th century as chosen by the Comics Journal back in 1999. I don't have my original issue of the journal here with me. It's under glass in an exhibit at the Fantagraphics bookstore. So, just have to settle for this. The new issue of Canon, the Canon Annual 2024. There's the original journal issue, number 210, from February of 1999. This issue is devoted entirely to that list, and that issue interviews with the surviving list makers, Seth, who did the original cover, and just lots of digging in to a pretty niche subject. If that sounds like it's up your alley, canonzine.bigcartel.com. Should be a link in the descriptions. Otherwise, I'm going to get to it. This is part 6, number 50 through 41. And first off, I guess somewhat appropriate, Tantrum by Jules Fifer. Jules Fifer just passed away. I believe he was 95 years old. One of the great cartoonists. This book is one of the legions of proto graphic novels. And until it's pretty loose, you can almost mistake it for a children's book or a picture book. Lots of full page illustrations, very loose style. It's a fun book. I don't think it would be on my top 100, but it is fun. Fifer's kind of always worth reading. Even lesser Fifer's not bad. This book was originally published. Let's see if I can find a date for you. Not there. 1979. So just after Will Eisner's A Contract with God. Something was in the air, I guess. Will Eisner's one of the dedications. Fifer worked for Eisner on The Spirit. So anyway, fun book. This was originally published by Knopf, a real New York literary publisher. It was reprinted by Fantagraphics, I want to say in the late 90s, early 2000s, but it's been out of print again for a very long time. I don't think these are hard to find, though. At number 49, Understanding Comics by Scott McLoud. There was a time when you just sort of assumed everybody knew this book. It engendered a lot of discussion. There was a round table about it in the Comics Journal. And McLoud has made, I think, 2 sequels. Possibly there could be a 4th one. I don't remember. I think I read the second one and thought, I don't really need any more of this. I have seen criticisms of this book. See, this is a Tundra version, one of the original versions. I've seen criticism of this book in that the theorizing is not really rigorous. It's not, it's kind of, comic studies for babies. Whether you think that or not, and I'll admit, I'm not a formalist. I'm not someone who thinks too much about how comics work and why. But to me, the real genius of this book is that he did this book as a comic, and it works pretty damn effectively. And McLoud has his limitations as a cartoonist, for sure. But he's very effective at communicating his ideas. There's a lot of published pages here, a lot of imagery. What's this thing clock in? Over 200 pages. It must have been quite an undertaking. I don't know how long it took him, but it must have taken him years to do this. And it's become a perennial. I wonder if younger people read it. I think probably they still do. But yeah, I think it's a very good book. And I'm almost certain it wouldn't rank as high now as it did back then. But at the time, like I said, it was a landmark book. Number 48, The Cartoons of James Thurber. Thurber was published in the New Yorker for many, many years. This is just a random collection of stuff. As you can see, Thurber has this very loose line. Later in life, he was almost blind. He had to draw very large and just sort of put his face right up against the paper. I love Thurber's cartoons. Because of his sense of humor, which is, it's off kilter, but isn't forced to be off kilter. There are some cartoonists who have strange points of view, but it really feels like they're laboring to do that. Thurber, I don't know. A lot of his cartoons just don't even have punchlines, which I guess wouldn't surprise a lot of people who don't like New Yorker cartoons or think they're just sort of strange. Anyway, I think Thurber is sort of outside the fact that he's not really the polished artist that some of the New Yorkers guys were. He just made lovely cartoons. I think they're fantastic. I think they're just really still hilarious all these years later. A lot of them drip with real venom, and I mean that as a compliment. So, I don't know if there's any Thurber work in print. I think there's a Thurber collection of print of art and prose from the Library of American Comics, and those are always in print. But otherwise, the older books, used bookstores, eBay. Number 47, The Buddy Bradley Stories by Peter Bagge. I chose this book. This collects all of the Bradley stories from Neat Stuff, Pete Bagge's first major title. When he ended Neat Stuff, he started Hate, which starred just Buddy Bradley, the son. These center on the whole family. Its place on the list is due to Hate, which is still fantastically funny and a great snapshot into the Seattle of that time, the early 90s. But Peter Bagge's just such a great writer. He recently published some more Buddy Bradley stories and Hate Revisited. I don't know that he quite captures the glory years, but still very enjoyable issues. Love his cartooning. This is where the first half of Hate for me is his real peak as a cartoonist, and you can see him getting there. These are really great looking comics. He's just cartooning the shit out of these pages. And a genuinely funny cartoonist. There aren't a lot of them, despite so many comics allegedly being humor comics. And he's just a great writer. Really does great work with his characters. So if you haven't read Hate for some reason, check it out. All right, number 46, Cages by Dave McKean. This was originally published as a 10-issue series, I believe by Tundra, but it could have been someone else. And you can see McKean working in this style, a very kind of European style. I haven't read this book in a very long time. It's actually on my to-do list to read it soon for something I'm working on. I was bowled over by it when I read it many years ago. Thought it was one of the great comics. It's a substantial piece of work. I picked up a random issue of Cages from a comic shop, issue 6 or something like that. And I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I knew that it was pretty damn impressive. At whatever age I was, probably 15 or 16 years old. Anyway, if McKean's a guy you only know from his Neil Gaiman collaborations or Sandman covers, I think this will give you kind of a different view of his work. Here he is even using some altered photography, something he became known for later. Anyway, cages. Not sure if this is still in print. I don't think it is, which is kind of a crime, as those things go. Number 45, Paul Auster's City of Glass. This is an adaptation by Paul Karasik and David Mazzucchelli, published by Neon Lit, which was a imprint of Avon Books. I think there were 2 Neon Lit books. The other one was La Perdida, which is a Barry Gifford novel that was adapted. Paul Auster's City Glass. Also appropriate to mention this in this video, since very soon this is being reprinted in a book where the entire trilogy is going to be presented. Mazzucchelli's chapter, another book is being drawn by Lorenzo Mattotti, the Italian cartoonist, one of the greats, and the third chapter will be drawn by Paul Karasik, which is interesting. Karasik, I think, is a wonderful thinker about comics, but most people wouldn't maybe consider him a great draftsman. But we'll see how it goes. This book has never been printed at a large size, as far as I know, which is kind of a crime. Not that Mazzucchelli's work doesn't look great at this size, but I would love to have it at a bigger size. Anyway, this is a good book. Not my favorite Mazzucchelli. I actually prefer the Rubber Blanket stories that appeared further back on the list, and I covered those in a previous video. But this is a good book. I think it's fairly available. Maybe not this edition, but I think you can find it for not a lot of money. I think there's a UK version that came out not that long ago. But like I said, it's going to be reprinted soon. And it's going to have a Mattotti book in there too, which is a pretty fantastic gift. Number 44, The Idiots Abroad by Gilbert Shelton and Paul Mavridis, if I'm saying his name correctly. This is a specific Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers story, though I'm sure this is meant to be kind of a stand-in for all Freak Brothers material. But as you can see, it's in color. At this point, I don't know how much actual cartooning Shelton's doing. If he and Mavridis are, if he's kind of laying things down and Mavridis is cleaning it up, or, I have no idea what the division of labor is, but it's very nice looking stuff. I like the Freak Brothers. I don't love the stuff, but I do think there's some pretty funny comics, and I think Shelton's a pretty entertaining cartoonist for sure. So, anyway, there you go. This is part of a series being published by Fantagraphics. I think it's 7 volumes will be the complete Freak Brothers. This is volume 6, so it is out and available. Number 43, The Amphigory Books by Edward Gorey. This is the first one of these. There's actually 4 of these books, though at the time the list was made, there were 3 Amphigory books. This first one contains 15 books. Not sure if they all contain 15. If so, that would represent sort of 60 short picture books. A lot of them have these rhymes. Gorey's art is fantastic. He's another guy that has a one-of-a-kind sensibility. But yes, this sort of gothic Victorian style that he's really known for. Yeah, if you've never read Gorey, I highly recommend picking up these books, or at least one of them, to give them a try. They're everywhere. They've been in print forever. They're easy to find. I bought this one back in 2004 for $7. So, they're around. They're not, I see them pretty regularly in used bookstores. Worth checking out. Number 42, Ghost World by Daniel Clowes. This ran as a serial in 8-ball. It's not very long, about 80 pages. Looks like exactly 80 pages. One color, two girls in high school who are kind of odd and fascinated by odd things. Turned into a movie, which I'm not a big fan of, but a lot of people were. Young Scarlett Johansson played this character in the movie. It's good. This book has grown on me over the years. When I first read it, I thought, that's fine, you know. And as I've read it a couple more times over the years, I've enjoyed it more each time. Yeah, worth reading. Klaus has made better work, but it's still a very enjoyable book. And it is perpetually available. It's one of Fantagraphics' best-selling books ever. So, number 41, From Hell by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. Can't quite remember if this was done at the time. Yes, 1999. So it was, November 99. So maybe the individual pieces had come out by the time the list was made, but not the entire book. Because I'm pretty sure this is the first time it was collected. Yes, also turned into a movie. The less said about the better. I really think this is one of the great comics. I think this book's reputation has grown over the years, unlike some of the books on this list. And I'm often amazed at some of the people that hold this book in high regard. I just feel like it gets mentioned over and over again. It doesn't have the stink of superheroes on it like Watchmen does, or even V for Vendetta. And so people can praise more, sort of full-throatedly without feeling like they're compromising themselves. And Eddie Campbell, who I think is colossally underrated, one of the best cartoonists ever, between this and his Alex stories, which appeared number 51 on the list. Just an amazing book, an amazing piece of work. Not surprising with an Alan Moore book that it's finely constructed, but yes, it's just quite a piece of work they put together. This one's been in print ever since. A colorized version was released a few years ago by Eddie Campbell. Yeah, check it out, please, for your own sake. It's a great book. All right, that will do it. Once again, I talk about this list in obsessive detail in this issue of Canon. canonzine.bigcartel.com. And otherwise, I will be back soon with part 7. Thanks.